Hello and welcome back to Off Harbor in Maine. I am Joel Covey, and I'm joined by my close friends to discuss Disney theme parks and more. Today I'm joined by Beth.
Welcome back, guys.
Matt.
Hey, guys.
And Derek.
Hey there.
And today on episode 20, we shall acquire knowledge through exploration as we venture into the jungles, temples, and ruins in order to uncover all that is the Society of Explorers and Adventurers. Come discover along with us. But first, let's go around our virtual Tropical and I just to see what everyone is drinking today. Beth, what do you have this week?
Today I have a beer, which I feel like is the first time I've actually had a beer on our whole show, which
like
is weird.
A true beer?
Like
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. But I have a marshmallow milk stout from Garage Brewing, which is right here in California. It is a giant, pint and a half bottle. So it's a good thing we've got a long show because I got a lot of beer to drink. And it's 7.1 alcohol by volume. So I should be feeling nice by the end of the episode.
Nice.
It's very good. It's very
Do you like
tasty.
it? Yeah,
it's really good. It's not too sweet. It just has like a hint of toasted marshmallow flavor at the end. And plenty of the, beer flavor. So it's good.
Very nice.
It was so good you licked the bottle.
I did. Well, I didn't want the drip to go on the desk.
Awesome. Matt, what do you have?
So I finally tried the Truly tea seltzers. And some of them were okay, but this is actually the one I really like. It's the raspberry flavor. It's just something about carbonated tea, though, that's still just not doing it for me. But, I actually like this one. I kind of wish it was just, still and wasn't carbonated, though.
Yeah, that makes sense. Carbonated is kind of strange.
Carbonated tea is weird. I mean, they're not bad. Don't get me wrong. And I am by no means going to let the pack go to waste.
It's good.
But it's worth trying. But
I'm sure some people like it more than others, right?
A glowing review.
yes,
Yeah, right.
glowingly honest. No, well, actually, I have that one, and then I also brought my backup, which is the peach. These are
backup.
these were
there you go.
these were the two good ones from the box. The strawberry one was terrible, which is sad because I actually really like strawberry flavored tea, and it was disgusting.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's very artificial.
Oh,
strawberry.
100%. It tastes. You can tell it tastes like fake tea too.
You can taste the chemicals.
Yeah.
It tastes like instant tea.
Oh, lovely. Derek, what are you drinking?
So I tried to go exotic tonight. So I made this mango cocktail. I mean, it's very simple. It's just mango juice and some Captain Morgan spiced rum. I figured since we're going on an adventure with some explorers, I'd go with the old Cap.
I like
Captain Morgan. It's pretty good.
Did you have a name?
No, it's just
Right. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
mango drink
Go.
cocktail.
it. Spicy mango.
Oh, I need some spice for spicy mango.
You said it was spiced rum.
That's already
Oh,
a drink.
well, there you go. I was...
okay,
made by-
spiced mango.
I say spicy mango is made by Golden Road.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't call it that. You'll get sued.
Well, what are the other name recommendations?
Mango.
I heard Beth's. Mango? Wow. I guess that'll do. Well, what are you drinking, Joel?
I decided to go a little different, but I searched online for what I basically had in my house. I'm like, what can I make with this? So this drink is called The Lion and the Lamb. I have no idea where the name comes from, but it's...
The Bible.
Yeah. It's some bullet bourbon,
Seriously.
some lime juice, I say this always wrong, and you can take away my drinking card if you want, but orgeat, or how do you pronounce it?
I'm not even going to try.
Orgy?
I thought
Orgy?
A little orgy in your cup?
very biblical.
Orgeat? So
think
it's
I think
that.
it's
I have
Orgies.
no idea what you're trying to say.
Yeah. The
It's the almond
orgeat.
stuff, right?
Yes, like an almond.
Liqueur, right?
No,
Oh,
it's
that's-
just
It's not liqueur, it's a flavoring.
it's a flavoring, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's in a lot of tropical and tiki drinks. But so I finally bought some that I was very excited about and trying to find good drinks to have it that's not just rum based. So yeah, the orgeat syrup, or however you want to say it, it's supposed to be with allspice dram. I do not have any of that, so I looked up what an alternative was, and spice rum would work. So I have some spiced rum in it as well, and with 2 dashes of bitters, and it is delicious. I am going to make it
good.
again. It's fitting for today. So with that, everybody, Kungaloosh.
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 Episode 20.
Yeah.
Whoa.
We did it.
We did it. And this is a big 20.
Yes, for us, 20 is a big deal.
So
I don't think we're going to make it to 100. So, what was that, Derek?
We'll see if we do it. We didn't do it yet. We're in the middle of it, or the very beginning. So we'll see.
Maybe we won't finish this one. Well, I do want to say before we get into our topic today, how exciting it is that we have Marvel back on TV, or at least on Disney Plus, and it's exciting how we're basically at a point where we're going to have a new Marvel TV show or episode, at least, pretty much every week for the rest of the year, right? We have WandaVision that's going on now, which I think we're all in agreement that it's great.
Love
Amazing.
it.
Loving
And
it.
for those that haven't started with it, if you get a little confused with the first 2 episodes, that's by design. So I think people are getting turned off by the beginning, being a little confused. There's a lot of genres in the series. Give it a chance.
Oh, but after that, I guess hold on to your butts.
Wow, you were just
Thanks,
all about
Sam.
the
I am all
Samuel.
about
all about Jurassic Park
tonight.
today.
Yeah.
Life finds a way.
But after WandaVision, on March 19th, we have The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. In May, we have Loki. Summer, we have What If. And then in late 2021, we still have Ms. Marvel and Hawkeye. So that's going to keep us busy with Marvel this year. That's exciting.
I'm ready.
Yeah, if this is any indication for like what's to come throughout the year, like we're gonna have a good year.
And there's so all of these things that are coming up are just like so outside of the realm of what has been happening so far in Marvel, but in a good way where they still kind of take everything. But like Loki, is going to be crazy. What If is, going to be insane. So it's so cool to like have kind of like break out of the pattern that we're used to, but still have those characters that we know and connect with. So I'm excited to see what they do with it.
Right now, I feel WandaVision feels very original. It feels different. I mean, yes, I don't want to give anything away yet because this is still coming out pretty early on in the show being aired. But episode 4 is getting back into what we kind of know from Marvel Cinematic Universe, but still leading up to it and everything that's going on is just so unique. Even the whole premise is, I feel, pretty original. So Matt wanted me to talk about, now this is a spoiler because in WandaVision they were talking about S.E.A. For some reason, Marvel just doesn't really care about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They don't want to talk about them. They had a series, but they've not really talked about much. I mean, there's been Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the movies, but we're forgetting about them, and now we're talking about S.W.O.R.D., which, do you know the acronym by heart, Matt? What is it?
You're muted, ding dong.
You should have seen him scream, but he was pissed that he was on mute.
I was like coughing, so I put myself on mute and I forgot I was on mute. And of course, I'm like, oh, I know the whole thing. And I said the whole thing and I was on
He
mute.
sat there and was looking it up on his phone. Don't believe him. Just kidding.
Okay. I hate you. Stands for Sentient World Observation and Response Department.
Yeah,
The hell
it's
is
a
that?
mouthful. Yeah. And they deal with a lot of stuff in space, too, right?
They're essentially Space Shield.
Yes, there we go. And speaking of acronyms, that leads us to S.E.A, the Society of Explorers and Adventurers. We're going to just jump right on into it, so let's head on in.
Why do I'm imagining like a little like boat whistle, like a...
The Society of Explorers and Adventurers, also known as S.E.A or S.E.A, debuted with the opening of Tokyo DisneySea on September 4th, 2001. It was here the first remnants of the society and the crest became visible to the patrons of the park. However, S.E.A was actually inspired by the former Adventurers Club at the now extinct Pleasure Island portion of what was then called Downtown Disney. After its closure, many of the props from the club were spread across the parks. This has caused the Adventurers Club to be retconned with Pleasure Island's founder, Meriwether Adam Pleasure, which is also an acronym, MAP.
We love acronyms.
MAP. Oh, it's so good. Anyway, he was now being known as a member of the society. Meriwether was an industrialist who in the early 20th century settled the colony of Pleasure Island in Lake Buena Vista, Florida. Known as the Grand Funmeister, he later disappeared off the face of the earth in the 1940s on an expedition with his family.
To Mount Everest.
Tragic.
Yeah. While Adventurers Club may have been Sea's inspiration, it came to fruition with the icon of Tokyo DisneySea. Many of you have probably seen at least a few photos of Tokyo DisneySea, but let's paint a quick picture. As you pass the majestic glow fountain just beyond the gates of the park, which appears held up entirely by the force from the water from the fountain, you pass underneath the arches through a pathway underneath the ornate Miracosta Hotel. Just ahead, your eyes will catch the twinkle of Mediterranean Harbor, with a decorative ship in the distance docked in front of a rather mystical fort just below Mount Prometheus. This mountainous structure shields Mysterious Island, but I digress. It's the fort, known as Fortress Explorations, where we'll focus our attention on first. The society was founded on August 12, 1528, at this very spot in Italy, this fictional spot named Porto Paradiso, consisting of scientists, explorers, researchers, artists, travelers, and adventurers from around the globe. SEA is dedicated to the continued exploration of the world's oceans and exotic lands. The SEA's crest is found amongst the aged stone walls of a bridge that connects sections of Fortress Explorations and represents 4 guiding concepts. Adventure, which is a galleon, a sailing ship in use often by Spain from the 15th through 17th centuries, and originally as a warship, but was later for trade. Then romance, and this is represented by a armillary sphere. Also discovery, which is represented by a compass, and innovation, which is represented by some artist tools. These items were selected originally as the best ways to represent the original charter and mission statement, which simply reads, "We, the Society of Explorers and Adventurers, shall acquire knowledge through exploration." A much more detailed mission statement was included at the Oceaneer Lab on the Disney Cruise Line and at Mystic Manor, which we'll be talking about a lot in a little bit. This mission statement goes, "The mission of the Society of Explorers and Adventurers is to collect, conserve, and curate valuable culture and artistic artifacts from around the world and make them available to the public in an artistically pleasing and sensitive manner. It's furthermore the mission of the organization to equip and mount socio-cultural expeditions to discover, explore, chronicle, and protect the artistic achievements of human society, past and present, exalted and forgotten."
Wow.
So that's quite the mission statement. Someone spent some
serious.
time on figuring that one out, and writing that one.
Do you ever have those like work things where you have to like write a mission statement?
Oh,
Like,
And add
yes.
extra
I've done that
words.
a few
that,
times.
That gave
Few
me
time.
like nightmares right there.
Whew. And I have another mission statement, I think, in a little bit to talk about too.
Oh my god.
So, go
I
ahead.
have a question. So, is it really like? I know the attraction is called Fortress Explorations. Is the fortress actually called Explorations?
No, and I think there's
Is
a
it the
translation.
yeah,
thing
I was
here.
say, is this just Japanese translation, like super weird? Because I'm like, you would think it'd be like Fortress of Explorations.
Exactly, and that's why it's always so tough for me to say because it doesn't roll off the tongue here. It's
doesn't
like,
flow.
And the
Yeah,
Fortress
'cause I-
Explorations. So I think that's just the name of the attraction, right? It's Fortress Explorations. I think it's the fortress, and there's probably a name to the fortress, but it is a fortress
That
of
you are
explorations. Yeah, exactly. So at this Fortress Explorations, one could get a map with information about the crest in more detail on the back. Here it claims their mission and purpose of the fortress. "We, the SEA, are dedicated to the gathering of newfound knowledge. So that you may share in our endeavors, we have created Fortress Explorations. Within the Citadel and on its waterfront, you can witness firsthand the progression of our explorations of adventure, romance, discovery, and innovation." I like that one, a little shorter.
A little shorter, a little easier.
Yeah.
What if they were there to gather newfound glory, though?
Beyond a challenging scavenger hunt of sorts called the Leonardo Challenge, There's an Explorers Hall of Fame at Fortress Explorations that also features many historical figures that are said to be honorary members. Per additional material that's available at the new Soaring Fantastic Flight attraction that opened up in July of 2019, which we'll also be talking about. And the fortress itself is also said to be haunted by the ghost of Leonardo da Vinci, who is also said to actually be an honorable member. I have to say, so this scavenger hunt is extremely difficult to do if you are an English speaker.
I say not Japanese.
Yeah. And it even says on their maps that this is a Japanese written exploration or something. But we did our due diligence. We waited in line. We tried to talk to a cast member to point us in the right direction and get us involved, get us into it. And we were able to do it, which is really cool. And there was other people along the way, so we were able to figure things out. It was a really cool experience, and anybody can just do. And of course, we don't know everything that we were doing because it was in Japanese, but it was cool. There was little puzzles involved to make things happen and discover new things within each different section of the fortress. So I thought that was really cool. There's a lot of detail in there. There's a lot of space, something that you just wouldn't see like at a Disneyland, because they just used up a lot of space just for this like really elaborate Sleeping Beauty castle walkthrough, basically. So I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, I watched some videos of it just to kind of get an idea of, you know, how the actual first thing kind of got started. It was really, the detail was amazing, and it was really beautiful too. Like, it wasn't just fun, but everything just, like they said, in a pleasing manner. It was very pretty.
It was, yeah, it's very ornate.
It kind of reminded me, not like on a small scale, it reminded me of California Adventure in the animation room. Like the first part where you're like doing the animation, like just kind of like that. It looked like that, but
workshop area,
yes,
but
and it like a way grander scale, but just kind of like that style. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really, it feels endless because it just keeps going, and I'm like, oh, there's another room here that's very decorative and filled with detail. But yeah, that's a good way to describe it. Also debuting with the opening of Tokyo DisneySea was a premier restaurant at Fortress Explorations called Magellan's. In the mid-1500s, Magellan's opened as the Society of Explorers and Adventurers meeting room. It was named for the Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan, who completed the first circumnavigation of the world. This is a truly fine dining restaurant and is known for serving multi-course meals and having an exquisite wine collection. It really is a beautiful restaurant, and it's kind of hidden within there, and luckily I was able to dine there, and little did I know that there was this huge hidden room in there. I had no idea. We went in 2010. Internet was definitely there, but it wasn't like today where everything you want to know about any type of location is readily available for you. Especially when it comes to Tokyo. It was much different back then. But you go in on the second floor, you go down to the dining room floor. Of course, as you're going down, it's under this huge rotunda, and the walls are decorated with fine art, such as paintings and tapestries. The ceiling is painted to resemble a Renaissance fresco depicting famous constellations. And sitting in the middle of the room is a large globe of the world with flags notating famous expeditions. So, as you can see, it fits the sea theme perfectly, and it's just really nice. Also on the second floor of Magellan's is the Magellan's Lounge, which is a cocktail bar. Oh man, if I were to go back, I would definitely be going there too. And as I was mentioning, so as you go to the restrooms of all places, there's a hallway, but when you go into the hallway, bookcase, and I had no idea. Knowing myself, I probably went to the restroom there just because I wanted to explore. In theme. Yeah, I'm just exploring here. No, but explore. There's ornate framework that goes around this bookcase, and the fourth little decorative like knob, I would say, on there is actually a button, and when you press it, it opens up the doors. It opens up in the middle, slides open, kind of like an elevator door, I would say, or automated doors. And then inside there's a very large room. I feel like it feels a little like Carthay Circle looking at it, but very impressed that they had something like this, and I'm surprised it's not just always fully booked and impossible to get into.
No, are you allowed? Would a guest be able to just go, able to, but are you supposed to just push the button, or are you supposed to wait for a cast member?
You wait for a cast member because you get sat there.
I don't want to get in trouble when I go when I go there and have a cast member yell at me.
You ask for the room, right? If you want to reserve
but I just want to know if I went to the bathroom, if I push the button, am I going to get in trouble?
I'm sure you wouldn't get in trouble because you could have gone to the bathroom yourself and you're just coming back from the bathroom. But I'm sure the people inside the room, if there's anybody there, would be like, oh. I'm sure a lot of people look at the people coming in, right? Each time.
I just gotta say, I'm super jealous of Joel for being able to go to this place because I've seen so many countless pictures of this and it looks beautiful, like all the ornate woodwork in that place. It just seems like my kind of place to have a drink, at least, not even just a meal. But, it's really cool that you got a chance to go there.
Yeah, and these are multi-course meals they have. I don't remember it being exceptionally expensive. I'm sure nowadays it has to be expensive just looking at the food offerings that they have. And that's not why we're here. We're talking about S.E.A, but it is a really nice restaurant.
I was going to say, then skip Europe every so often, Derek, and go to Japan.
Hey, that's on bucket list, so maybe my next trip.
Anyway,
is it though?
Getting back to it, S.E.A continues to become a more convoluted and complex as more discoveries are uncovered in the parks. We'll also be talking about the other prominent members, which include Harrison Hightower III, Lord Henry Mystic, Barnabas T. Bullion, Mary Oceaneer, Dr. Albert Falls, and President Jason Chandler, just to name a few. But the list continues to grow as Disney works to build the Society's lore to this day, with just recently hinting at the addition of S.E.A characters at the stateside Jungle Cruise attractions and a future enhancement project. We may touch upon that a little bit later, but it's exciting that, it looks like it's here to stay, so it's exciting that I think we're going to continue to see these things develop, and I'm glad we're looking at this now and we're doing all this research, because I have a feeling, let's say in 5 years from now, or 10 years, if you want to go back into it, it'd be like us trying to understand Marvel now from the beginning, and we're just learning about it today. Trying to go back and let's start with Iron Man and learn all about Marvel. It's going to be quite the big, I'm calling it like a theme park universe or interconnected theme park universe, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because it's all interconnected amongst different theme parks across the globe.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, one of the explorers will snap and kill the rest of them.
Maybe that's what happened. They all seem to just kind of disappear.
Yeah, what's the the last one's from the 50s. So,
yeah, maybe. You might be onto something, Matthew.
It was Walt Disney.
WandaVision shit.
Surprise, bitches.
No more sea explorers.
Thanks, Walt. No. All right. So we would see the next installment of S.E.A on September 22nd, 2006, with the opening of the Hightower Hotel in the American waterfront area at DisneySea. So I'm going to go into the Hightower Hotel real quick, kind of in detail. I know we want to just really talk about the S.E.A members, but I think Hightower Hotel really establishes a lot more about what S.E.A is, and really what is not respected within the S.E.A. Harrison Hightower isn't necessarily the greatest human. He has some not kind of unethical, which I'll talk about here in just a second. There's so much to discuss, and I don't even know where to begin, but I'll provide the Cliff Notes version the best I can. Once I started researching this, I just kind of went down a rabbit hole and I couldn't stop. So, and I feel like it'd be a disservice not to kind of go into each of these attractions. Nevertheless, the Hightower Hotel, aka Tower of Terror, is Japan's take on the Hollywood Tower Hotel. Being that this version would be in the New York Harbor portion of the port of call, and since Japan doesn't have the connection to the Twilight Zone like the American audience, the Imagineers opted for an entirely original story. This tower would focus on a rich tycoon that still loved his collections, but didn't respect them like other members of the society. This would be none other than Harrison Hightower III. Before I get into this character, keep in mind that his looks are heavily based on the now former Imagineer, Joe Rohde. Spitting image, actually, which is actually quite comical since there are so many paintings and photos of Harrison Hightower throughout the building, including one of my favorites in the gift shop at the end, where he's like jumping off of a cliff and diving, and you have like the face kind of going back in the wind, but it's Joe Rohde, so it's just
is his ear
pretty
flapping
funny.
Back there too,
The earring's not there.
Not there.
So
I'm just checking.
they should have kept the earring, but
I mean, I love it personally. I just
Yeah.
wanted to know how detailed they kept it.
yeah. And, he's even in some of the commercials, and he really was, like, there's no hiding the fact that he was the model for the character, basically. But anyway, Harrison Hightower III was born in 1835 and was a member of the wealthy Hightower family. He would come to be a member of S.E.A, a high-ranking member of the Colonial Thieving Pillagers Brigade, which is a predecessor and kind of a less ethical version of S.E.A, and the owner of the New York Hotel Hightower. He would be known as the Dragon of Park Place. Harrison Hightower was rather unscrupulous in his artifact collecting, hoarding art and antiquities from across the world in his private collection at Hotel Hightower. This version of the tower features an unusual design with extraordinary proportions to symbolize wealth and power. Mr. Hightower inherited the mansion actually from his father. He also added gardens, a pool, and a spa. The 5-story, I'm going to say this wrong, Caliph's Tower, the 8-story Indian Tower with guest rooms and a ballroom, and finally the 14-story Great Tower, in which he would feature his own penthouse suite. So, of course, he had a beautiful suite on the top floor there. But as you can see, this is quite a big building, and he's done a lot to it. But overall, it's really a Gothic style. I think many of you that are listening to have probably seen some pictures. If you haven't already, check it out online. It is an interesting look. And personally, I'm torn between this one and Florida's Tower of Terror, my favorite, on looks. Actual ride, different story, but that's because this Tower of Terror follows more or less the one from California, where it doesn't have the fifth dimension room space. There's no forward movement like that. Instead, it's more like California's and Paris's, where it just goes backwards when you load, and then you just go through the drop shafts. But there's many artifacts that he acquired over the years that are installed in and around the hotel. He is a collector of many antiquities, accompanied by his valet, Mr. Smelding, who he traveled to every continent to collect his curiosities, including Asia, Europe, South America, and Oceania. Once he found an artifact he wanted, he would use any method available to acquire it, including, on an occasion, an outright plunder. So it was in 1899 when Hightower would embark on the most dangerous expedition of his life up the Congo River and into uncharted areas of Africa. He was in search of art, but was an object of hostile attacks by local tribes. Many members of his team actually lost their lives on this expedition. It was here he discovered the tribe's protective idol, a statue called Shiriki Utundu. He, of course, wanted this all for himself. They refused to give it to him and ended up stealing it, and he ended up stealing it from its altar. The tribe saw this happen, but just stood there expressionlessly, almost smiling at him. And this has to be kind of your first clue of the evil the idol carried, because they kind of just let him do it. They knew that he was taking something cursed, and they're probably like, go ahead and have it.
Take it, buddy.
Joke's on you, bitch.
So anyway, we move on to December 31st, 1899. Harrison Hightower III was back in New York. He held a private press conference to kind of gloat and have a spectacular kind of New Year's Eve party that night. And note, this press conference was recorded and is replayed on a phonograph in the pre-show area, which would be where the library is of the other Tower of Terrors. When I wrote this, I had no idea what was going on. Like, I understood the concept of the attraction, but it's all in Japanese. I just, while researching this, I just saw one that had subtitles on it, which was really nice. So I finally got to really understand what was happening. Like, oh, they're playing the actual press conference in the pre-show. Now I know. But as he left the party and boarded his elevator to head to his penthouse with his idol in hand, he ignored all the warnings to provide Shiriki Utundu with respect. He kind of was just sneering in defiance. He ended up putting his cigar out on the idol's head. So basically you can see the idol was pissed. Rightfully so.
He went and did all this work to get it. Why would he just...
Yeah, you think you'd have a little bit more respect for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was saying, the guy stole it. You really think he has any
That's what I'm
respect for
saying.
it?
He doesn't care.
He went through so much work for it. If you like burn it, you kind of ruin it. Like, why did you go through all that effort to just?
It was just more of like a look what I got, guys.
Yeah, I think this is really to
Matt gets it.
show his personality, where everyone was giving him a hard time and saying, "Hey, this is cursed. You better watch out. You know, you have to show it respect." And he's kind of like, "Well, look at me. I'm going to disrespect it, and nothing bad is going to happen to me." But then at midnight, the clock struck midnight. All the lights in the hotel went out, and all of a sudden, hundreds of thousands of volts of electricity struck the hotel. An explosion occurred on the top floors, and the cables of the elevators were cut or snapped, and it plummeted. And of course, panic occurred. All the guests were scrambling around, and some say he already made it to his rooms, while others say no, his fez cap is still inside the elevator, and the idol were found left inside that elevator. The pre-show illustrates that he was in the elevator when it was struck by electricity. So I've read some discrepancies on this one, but it looks like he was in the elevator, it struck, it fell down, and he has disappeared, so he has not been seen since. So afterward, the hotel was closed. People in New York dubbed it the Tower of Terror, and it was closed for 13 years before the New York City Preservation Society, led by its president and founder, Miss Beatrice Rose Endicott, opened the Hightower Hotel for public tours to appreciate the architectural beauty and cultural value of the treasures inside. So this is why we pretty much are all there. And it really shows how this is kind of a time period. You're not in present day New York. You're going back in time, really. Harrison Hightower III references can be found at multiple locations. He can also be found at Raging Spirits, which is a roller coaster similar to the Indiana Jones roller coaster in Disneyland Paris. But here there's materials within Tower of Terror's queue that show Hightower plundering the ancient temple of the Lost River Delta. So you can see him just right in front of the same thing. And then there's crates near Raging Spirits attraction, which are labeled as containing artifacts due for shipment to the Hightower Trust. And then he's also, I don't know if we want to talk about it too much here, but he's also mentioned kind of at Auntie's Beach House in Alani, and also at Trader Sam's Enchanted Tiki Bar, and he has a paddle at Tropical Hideaway, which we'll talk about more as well. There was clearly a large push to expand SEA internationally with the opening of Mystic Manor at Hong Kong Disneyland in 2013, and many other society members quickly followed. But first, I want to just recap the timeline so far, as I know that was a lot, kind of all at once. Real quick, something I have not mentioned was the 1970s Discovery Bay concept, which was a new land that was being conceptualized by Tony Baxter. It was a steampunk land really being developed for Disneyland, kind of behind Big Thunder Mountain and the Big Thunder Ranch Galaxy's Edge area. And this is where it connected Jason Chandler, which we'll later find out was the president of the society and also a big part of the new Big Thunder Mountain storyline. Also, then in 1989, that's when Pleasure Island opened. And of course, you had Adventurers Club there, which celebrated New Year's Eve 1937 every night. And that ends up getting grandfathered into the society because it just makes perfect sense for it to be part of the Society of Explorers and Adventurers. And then 2001 opened with the DisneySea, Fortress Explorers, and Magellans. 2006, we saw the Tower of Terror, the Hightower Hotel. And then in 2006, we got an update to the Disney World Mansion attic scene as they changed out the bride, as well as they added portraits that, you had heads being kind of severed off within these portraits. And one of those portraits is George Hightower, which is apparently a family member of Harrison Hightower. A lot of people are saying this. I don't know how official it is. I don't see anything actually showing that that's really the case. There could be another Hightower out there.
The names match. That's
the times were. That's too much of a coincidence.
To me, that is proof enough.
And it's in a Disney park. It's connected.
Okay.
It has to be.
But it's also worth noting that in the stretching room portraits, there's one of them is the old lady that's sitting on the grave or the tombstone, and as it goes up, it actually says, I think it says George Hightower, right? It just says George. It's just George. So it's George with an axe through its head. and the marble bust below it. And so we're kind of left to assume that that is George Hightower. So interesting stuff. It's kind of cool that it's all being intermixed together. I really like this.
And I mean, if they're related, I think George got it worse than Harrison.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
He just disappeared.
He just disappeared.
He could be anywhere. He might be having a party. Who knows?
And George got his head
He
chopped
faked his
off.
own death.
He is Harrison Hightower is seen later within the attraction, and he's basically stuck reliving that moment over and over again. So I think
13 years after that happened, who knows where he is now?
It's Groundhog Day.
True.
It's Bill Murray.
Well, this leads us all to Mystic Manor. Matt, did you want to talk about it a little bit?
All right, so as Joel said, Mystic Manor was the next chapter of the S.E.A. We call it the S.E.A. saga.
The seaside,
Sure.
like it.
So Mystic Manor, let's a little backstory here, was founded by the S.E.A. member known as Lord Henry Mystic. Henry Mystic was essentially, he was the good version of Harrison Hightower. He wasn't a dick. Whereas Harrison Hightower didn't respect anything he acquired, Henry Mystic, on the other hand, was very, I guess you would say more, would you even say philanthropist?
Yeah.
He was more of a philanthropist because he liked to display his artifacts for people to
For
see.
everybody, and bring people in to look at them.
Yes.
Yes. He's very well respected within
Yes.
S.E.A.
Yes, he's complete opposite of Harrison Hightower. People actually like him. Also, Henry Mystic, while he was on an expedition in Papua New Guinea, he found a monkey that got trapped in a spider's web. He rescued the monkey and he named him Albert. And Albert essentially becomes his little sidekick from then on out. Anytime you see a picture of Henry Mystic, he always has Albert, and Albert is dressed with a little fez on his hat.
Fez on his hat?
Shut up. A fez on his head.
Yes. He's very cute,
He's very cute.
and I'm sure his plushes sell very well.
I want one.
Albert? Hello there. Yeah, I was just looking for... Oh, there's the music box I told you about.
So Henry Mystic, he needs a place to display his artifacts. So he decides while he's in New Guinea, he finds an area that is supposedly very powerful in like supernatural activity. And that's where he decides to build his home, which the home is called Mystic Manor, but the whole area in which he builds his home is called Mystic Point. The collection is many of the things that he found, also many of the things that other members of S.E.A. gave him to showcase within his house. Part of this backstory is explained more by Walt Disney Imagineer Mark Schreimer. He says on one of his expeditions, he basically fell in love with this location, this uncharted tropical wilderness, and he wanted to stake his claim, make his home there. So he cleared out the jungle on the riverbank and built his Victorian manor.
I thought he was going to say that he fell in love with a monkey.
Oh, that's gross. Henry Mystic, being a kind of a philanthropic character, wanted to open the doors of his home to showcase his collection, and that's what he did, and that's why guests are coming to Mystic Point, to see the showcase and be able to view the collection. Henry Mystic was also an explorer, or not just an explorer, he was also an inventor. Now, when you go to Mystic Manor, you don't just walk through the mansion. You get in one of Henry Mystic's inventions. It's called the Magneto Electric Carriage, which for us, it's actually trackless ride system. But for him, it's more of like a steampunk kind of like...
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah, a steampunk electric carriage. Like a tram that takes you through his household. He didn't want you just to walk through the house and see things like a museum. He wanted you to experience them.
And I feel like this is like Disney's taking everything they've learned from other trackless ride systems, like Pooh's Honey Hunt over in Tokyo, as well as other ones we've seen, and really combining it all together and making this really well done trackless experience.
So, in 1909, Henry found on one of his expeditions, he found a music box that he found in Bali, and he brought it back to the manor. Supposedly, this music box was kind of like a Pandora's box, I guess you would say. And if you opened it, it was supposed to bring to life inanimate objects. And, of course, Albert the monkey, being apparently very mischievous, when Henry Mystic wasn't home, opened the music box, and, of course, everything inside the mansion came to life.
Oh, Albert.
So, and if you guys have never seen a video of Mystic Manor or know anything about Mystic Manor, find a video. It'll become a bucket list attraction for you.
Yeah, if you're not going to go there within like the next year, you need to watch it because it's very impressive.
If I ever go to Hong Kong, I'm making a beeline for that first.
Mm-hmm.
So outside of actual Mystic Manor, the attraction, Henry Mystic kind of has this claim in a couple of other things around the world. He was one of the SEA members that was at the indoctrination of Camellia Falco, who is the benefactor or the founder of Soarin' in Tokyo.
Soaring. It's been really hard for me to even write it out. Every time I'm like, oh, it is
Damn G at the
They got
end.
the G in Japan.
Soaring Fantastic Flight.
So proper.
He's also a writer because at the Skipper Canteen in Florida, there are a few of his books known as A Manor of Fact, Primates as Shipmates, and Treasures of the Manor.
Wow.
Matt, this should be your job. That seems like something you should be doing.
What?
Coming up with these book titles and stuff like that.
That is the perfect Matt job. Is that an Imagineer position? Puns?
It was
2001.
2001. He also one of the contributors to the Tropical Hideaway because there's a display of paddles with oars, and one of the paddles from an 1874 expedition has Henry's name on it in the Ganges River in India.
He's been around.
Yeah.
So even though those are very, you find those around the world, there's other ones within the manor itself. The attraction contains numerous references to other SEA members and storylines, including a group portrait of the club's members within the queue. There are other members listed in the manor, such as Dr. J.L. Batterista. There's Charlton J. Tabaret and Professor R. Blauerhimmel. It doesn't really say what these people do. They are just listed as members within the queue. There is also a honorable member of SEA that was in the queue also. It's Maestro de Elfman.
I love it. Because he did the music, right?
Yes. If you guys didn't know, Danny Elfman was the person who did he composed the soundtrack for Mystic Manor. And
how
it's
cool
so
is that?
good.
Yeah.
It's
And the portrait is like, it's totally Danny Elfman.
Literally, it's a caricature of Danny Elfman, and it says he was considerably close to Lord Henry Mystic and appeared to have assisted him with his music room.
that's so cool. I love that he even did the music for that and that they included him in that. That's such a cool little tribute.
And can I just say, so that portrait that they have in there in the queue is really cool because it showcases what's her name from Soaring with Camellia Falco, and that was before Soaring opened, well before. And then you had the same, and this is, I got so excited when they opened up Tropical Hideaway, and I saw we had sea references in Disneyland. Even though it's seriously, it's just a few paddles on the wall that have the sea emblem, but I was so excited because it's really bringing it all together, and we have Albert Falls and stuff. What?
It's a nice tie-in.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. We had stuff that was going to be opening up in Japan already on the wall in Disneyland in Anaheim. So I had to point that out. I thought it was cool.
I mean, it just makes you realize how much thought and effort they put into this whole backstory and putting things into place before they've even arrived or people even realize what they were. It's just really nice to have this grand master plan of the whole thing. It's really cool. Question about the the portrait. Like, is this the first time that they actually like pictured them all together, or so I read? Like all of the original, like
I think it was the original, like the
See-
first time that there was multiple members within one picture. And of course, what's Hightower is in the picture also.
Yeah. So following Mystic Manor was in same year we had Disney World's Thunder Mountain had quite a bit of additions added to it, and it was kind of came out of left field. I was surprised they did all this.
Yes. So when Big Thunder came back, it had this whole sea backstory that was suddenly attached to it. And most of this information is kind of seen when you're winding your way through the queue. But the basic story is that Barnabas T. Bullion? Is that how you say it?
I think it's bouillon.
Isn't bouillon?
Is it? I keep on thinking like beef bouillon. I'm like, that's not it.
Well, it's gold bouillon.
Yeah, is it bouillon? Bouillon? Okay. Barnabas T. Bouillon.
Bouillon.
Barnabas T. Bouillon. He is the owner of the Big Thunder Mountain Mining Corporation. And as we're speaking about people who resemble people, hello, Tony Baxter right here, which is kind of a nice because it ends up that, as you'll see, he kind of ties into the story a bit himself. So Barnabas, I did have his last name written down for everything, but now I'm calling him first name basis baby because I can't say the last name. So Barnabas, he was born in around the 1810s. Per Disney, this was based off of their information. Also kind of a dick here. That wasn't per Disney, but he rules with an iron fist. He's basically this very greedy, gold-hungry tycoon, basically, and he feels like this gold strike is due and owed to him at Big Thunder Mountain. Based off of what everyone's saying around him at Big Thunder Mountain who lives around there, they're telling him, you got to be careful because the mountain, she is very protective of her gold. You don't want to piss her off. But of course, he's a dick, so he doesn't really care. So he actually hooks up with Jason Chandler, as we mentioned earlier before, was part of Discovery Bay, which is something that Tony Baxter, which is what Tony Baxter had been working on earlier. So that's kind of why they ended up making Barnabas look like Tony, because it kind of looped all into that whole Discovery Bay thing. And Jason Chandler is the president of S.E.A. He's also an inventor, and he's invented this drilling machine. So that's what Barnabas is using to drill into the mountain. He's just drilling and drilling.
Is that what he's drilling into Jason Chandler?
But as you walk through the queue, you see that obviously things have been happening. There's been runaway mine cars. There's been all this stuff that's happening. And you see a letter in there from Jason Chandler to Barnabas telling him that he has spoken with Madame Zarkov from Museum of the Weird. She's a character that originally would appear in the Adventures Club. So she's there and she's saying, you need to stop. You need to stop with this drilling. But of course, he doesn't listen. And that's kind of what's happening. He's disappeared and things have gone crazy and things are rolling off and all this kind of stuff. But I want to talk a little bit about Jason Chandler because he's interesting. I feel like he's more interesting than Barnabas. Barnabas, who cares? So Jason was the president of S.E.A. And as Joel said, he originally was from the unbuilt Discovery Bay. And in a spring of 1992 Disney magazine, they kind of explained it, that he was a young inventor who devised a drilling machine with the capability of going right into the very heart of Big Thunder Mountain where a vein of gold ran super deep. And in this iteration, which did not actually carry on to Big Thunder, but in the original iteration, he was going to take it and he ended up his miners got trapped because it went too far. The mountain got angry. He rescued them, but he ended up being lost in the event. But obviously that didn't actually happen. But the cool thing about it is that in our Disneyland, there is reference to Chandler right outside of Batu where there's the stagecoach as a little reference to Chandler. There is a box on the stagecoach addressed to him, which I thought was so cool.
And it's cool because that's where he originally would have been.
And he originally would have been there, yes. They kind of brought it all the way back there. And the fact that they actually included Madame Zarkov in the backstory because she was somebody who was originally part of the Adventures Club. And so now all three of them all have this connection to Walt Disney World's Big Thunder Mountain, and that whole big backstory back there.
It's very cool. And how neat is it for Tony Baxter, considering, Big Thunder Mountain was his first big attraction. It's his kind of brainchild. He made this after Nature's Wonderland, and when he made this, a lot of people were concerned about Big Thunder Mountain coming in here. It's a big deal. There's been history about him having some beef with Mark Davis as well, because he had some ideas for that area. But the fact that he was able to, this much later, being able to come back and really be represented within the attraction as a character, and really he's going to live on forever with the attractions, at least, and within this whole SEA big ol' backstory, it must be really cool for him.
Yeah. And, as we've said before, there's some SEA members who are good and some who are a little bit unscrupulous. And I'm just going to go ahead and claim Barnabas unscrupulous. He didn't care about anyone's life or anything that was going on. But the other thing that I was going to say is that Barnabas is also in Disneyland. Did you know?
Is he just in one of the buildings?
Yeah, he's a portrait in the hotel in Rainbow Ridge. Is it Rainbow Ridge?
Yeah. It's so weird. Like, how did somebody had to pay for that, and somebody got that approved. Like, we're going to add in Barnabas in the hotel in the little mining town outside of the attraction. Yeah. It's so bizarre.
Panhandle Hotel is what it's called. The Panhandle Hotel in Rainbow Ridge, which is now all I want to do is go back and look for it. I couldn't find a photo of it. I found multiple references of it, but I could not find a photo. Now I just want to go back and write it and take a look for it.
I'm upset. I didn't know that existed before. Yeah. And I read it, I'm like, what? Yeah. Normally I would just go back to Disneyland. Oh, I'm writing it. I'm going to go check it out. Can't do it.
I know. There were so many times that I was researching. I'm like, wait, what? What? I did not know that. So very cool. I love the layers and layers of detail crossing to both parks, to both attractions. How cool.
Okay, so we're going to stop things right there. We still have a lot to talk about. We still have some big ones like soaring and a few other smaller items to really talk about, see across the globe. But we're going to save that for our next episode. So please come on back. We'll have this out pretty soon for you. But I want to say thanks everybody for listening so far, and I hope you've enjoyed our discussion on SEA. We wanted to also just say, hey, if you're enjoying this, please do not hesitate to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. And I know we talk about it all the time, but we do love seeing your reviews and seeing some more ratings. It would really help us out. But regardless, hey, thanks so much for listening. Now, while no one knows for sure what we'll see or do, I do know it will be quite an adventure. An adventure we'll take and make together.
See you in the future.
On behalf of the birdies, flowers, and tikis here at Off Harbor and Maine,
farewell and aloha to you.
Stay well and cheers.
Cheers!
Oh, this is scary. This is so scary. This is so many words.
Don't fuck it up.
Oh, I will.
All right. So, like Joel said, Mystic.
He's banging his drink. Let him finish.
Is it a gavel?
Might as well.
I call this podcast to order.
Oh, God.